morning.
Thank you so much. You're doing such a great job, so I thought I would just let you continue. It is great to have everyone here. I did go through some of those slides, I think, last time when we had people, but I can also just summarize this as well. But I think it would be nice to get into some of the interview questions with everyone. Maybe if we do have time, we can just go around real quick and introduce each other if there's people who have not met as well.
I'll start. I'm Edie Kuiper, and I work with Community Care Health Centers in Yolo County. And today I especially want to introduce Marina Contreras. She joined our team last month. There she is on camera. She's our food education coordinator. Marina is studying both nutrition and Chicano studies at UC Davis, and finishing up, plan to finish up this year. So we're just really glad to have her as a part of our team so that we can expand our reach into the Latino community that is actually the majority of the patients we serve.
I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, Edie, for the introduction.
Where are you? What place are you in?
Right now, I'm in Davis.
Oh, okay. You're in Northern California. Awesome.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Would you please, if you drop your email and name in the chat, then I can quickly make sure I add you to the email listserv so that you receive all communication.
I'm Kenyan born. I've been living here in the US. I'm in North Carolina, and I'm also an organic chef, and I'm also very interested in indigenous food issues. I do organic farming. I have a center in Kenya. Just came back from a 6 weeks food tour in Kenya, where I'm setting up a food literacy and sustainability center that will have a demonstration farm. I take organic seeds in order to diversify the food in my community and in Kenya. And obviously, I also recognize that they don't have certified organic seeds in Kenya. Because of the laws, it's actually illegal for anybody to sell certified organic seeds from the stores. So I mean, that's my interest. And well, what else can I say? And and I like to write about food. And I have designed a cuisine called Afrofuturistic Conscious Cuisine, which is basically the healthiest way I know how to eat, both for the planet, for the future, but based on the concept of food is an instrument of injustice, that we commit an injustice every time we eat food that is not ethically grown without the use of forced labor, extractive practices and such. So yeah, and that's it.
If I can just also add, Chef Kabui's had some expertise in language and even words that we use around food that I think is also important, because I still just met somebody the other day that said there's this huge project about food deserts here in California, and I think even some of the language can have a lot of impact. And so that was one thing that we were hoping that you would also contribute to this food center, is for us to be a bit more conscious of the language that we use and how it impacts some of these programs going forward.
I'm happy to do that.
My name is Susana Matias. I live and work in the land of the Ohlone here in Northern California. My work is based in the University of California, Berkeley, and I am a nutrition specialist, and I'm mostly working right now with the students and issues related to food access and food insecurity, but also how they are involvement in food production, because we do have some student farms in the campus, might be influencing how they eat, how they relate to food, and how they feel, their well-being, and also mental health outcomes. So anything related to health outcomes, I'll be happy to support that. We also have a class that we are evaluating where we combine nutrition and culinary education. So I'm very excited to see that we have someone who knows a lot about it here also. And so we're evaluating that and seeing how that can also help students to cook in a budget given the very high rates of food insecurity among our population of students. Oh, you will see in my background a bunch of different types of potatoes. I was born and raised in Peru. This is in Southern California, in South America. So I always like to brag about the many types of potatoes we have in my place. So very happy to be here.
How many different types? I'm curious. How many different types of potatoes? Do you know how many types of different potatoes?
Well, exact number, no, but about 500.
500.
Or more than 500. But we have this issue with Bolivians, with what our neighbors, they also say they have, or we share, we have the same ancestors, but we have, yeah, more than 500 different types of potatoes. I remember people who came with me to Peru for visiting, my then boyfriend and now husband, and all of them being so amazed when they went to the grocery store and saw that so many types of potatoes that we have there for people to just get. This is for frying, this is for puree, this is for stew, this is for different things. So yeah, but yeah, I can share more about my place at any other time we want to talk about that.
I want to hear about.
Yeah, the potatoes are beautiful. And honestly, you can see everyone's face smile when you say there's over 500 kinds of potatoes. Like, it just brings joy to everybody to hear about, you know, the biodiversity. It's amazing. And in a food that we know so well is this standardized potato here in the US, you know, that is mass produced. So it's a beautiful background.
Dr. DeLaura, would you have a moment? Can you get on mic and introduce yourself?
Yes, yes. I just cannot get on. Well, if you, Cheryl, if you all give me, like, if other people have to introduce themselves and I have 5 minutes, then I can show my face because I'll be parked. So, is there someone else?
Okay, that sounds good. We can go around. Raphael. Good morning, Raphael.
Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Raphael. I'm talking from Brazil. I am a PhD student in agricultural sciences here at the University of Lavras. And we got this research farm, an organic certified farm where we grow horticultural crops, sweet potato, and especially moringa. And we are studying biofertilizers and biopesticides out of moringa leaf extracts. We have a bunch of students here every day, and we try to combine renewable energy with organic farming and wastes treatment, organic wastes treatment like composting and things like that. And that's it. I'm happy to be here among you guys.
Hello, everybody. My name is Queen Nina from Los Angeles, California. I'm a food justice activist and health activist for the disenfranchised, underserved communities. And I am giving out food, an emergency food organization, giving out food to the communities weekly. And my organization also teaches about nutrition and holistic alternative wellness. Thank you.
Let's see. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Happy to participate again in this food justice movement. I'm here in Palm Desert area, Southern California, and my passion is growing food in small spaces, in particular for the next generation. And I'm an avid moringa follower, advocate. In fact, this is what I have to show you today. Fresh moringa powder from the Central Valley of California. So happy to share it with you. The last thing I'll say is that about 3 years ago, I was working with some students at UC Davis, and we now have what we call Teens Can, which is a comprehensive food literacy in cooking, aquaculture, and nutrition. This is on UC Davis website, and it's free to use for the public. So I think it's a great document that my friend Lindsay Ruiz and Dr. Sheriff put together. And this is a document that could be used all over the world as it relates to cooking, agriculture, and nutrition. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy.
Okay, well, I think Dr. D, if you're able to come in, you can come in now, or I think
Yes,
we'll
I'll
continue with the program.
Yes, I can come in now. So I have my son Pharaoh in the background, and he is really a catalyst for the work that I'm doing now. I'm a professor at Charles Drew University, and I'm waiting to be a professor at UCLA in the Department of Family Medicine. I am a theologian and a political scientist by training, and my mission is really around the liberation of the oppressed. And obviously food is central to that. The Bible talks about being a steward of the earth. And I thank Cheryl for bringing me here. I connected with her some years ago through my mentor, Steve Shoptaw, in a happenstance kind of way. And we're working together on some other projects that involve cannabis and, you know, growing. And so I thank you all for being here. And I was saying my son is really the impetus for being a part of this work, because there was a study that came out a couple months ago about how baby food had all of these toxins, and not necessarily from the vegetables and fruits themselves, but probably from the industrial processes. And so I've really been challenged by this, because can you imagine being a baby, you know, who can't make food decisions for themselves, and, you know, your mom or father, you're getting Gerber, you're getting what they believe is to be, you know, decent quality food, and it has these neurotoxins. So that has really challenged me, being a mom and thinking about food in this way. Thank you.
Christen Brown, how you doing?
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Happy to be here. So that was very inspirational. The doctor who just spoke, of course, that was granted. It made me think a lot about a lot of the reason why I got involved with the process that I'm in, as far as advocating for the sickle cell community, you know, having a lot to do with our children as well. So I'm managing an information platform called Creation of Society, in which we educate the public on the evolution of sickle cell using art, entrepreneurship, and agriculture. And today being September 1st, this is actually the first day of Sickle Cell Awareness Month. So moving right along with that. And I was born and raised in Oakland, California, you know, home of the Panthers, of course. And they have a rich history of, you know, pushing for Black liberation movements, and actually was the organization that spearheaded sickle cell advocacy into the national, you know, the national consciousness. And so work that we do around moringa is being able to use it as a culturally specific food to help alleviate some of the stresses associated with sickle cell, focusing on the iothiocyanate chemicals in it, having an anti-sickling impact on the blood, and also using it as a staple food. So some of our challenges have been just being able to get these kind of nutritional plans, these plant-based nutritional plans, institutionalized in our community in a way that we can consistently support some of our most vulnerable members in a way that we don't need much intervention, but we can do it on a family-to-family basis. So that's one of the ways that we've been using moringa as a way to support the sickle cell community, because we've had, you know, plenty of ancestors who've had sickle cell. My grandmother, she had it. And, you know, some of the stories that we hear today, as far as people coming in and out of the hospitals and, you know, losing organs and being on pharmaceutical drugs for the duration of their lives, it wasn't a part of the oral history that any of my parents remember about their parents having sickle cell. So, you know, this is a narrative that has been hijacked in North America and has been, for the most part, misrepresented to the rest of the world. So we're here to more or less be able to set the record straight that there is a herb or a food that can cure any type of ailment, and sickle cell is no different. So, you know, working with members of the sickle cell community, our goal is to be able to offer moringa health packages to these members of the sickle cell community at no cost by matching purchases through our online store, creationofsociety.com. So every time somebody makes a purchase of a Moringa health package from outside of the sickle cell community, we'll match that and give it to someone within the sickle cell community at no cost. So yeah, that's what we're doing in a nutshell. And I'm based out of Oakland, and I'm currently in San Diego, California right now.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Crystal, very nice meeting you. Just so you know, I'm in San Diego too, and we'd invite you to come tour our farm. So 151 Farms, located here in San Diego, is an urban farm. We're big time activists in terms of feeding the world and finding ways to do so sustainably. So the 151 Farm starts out as a concept where we move water between our plants in a constant flow of water, very much recreating a riparian effect. And we get 90% of our growth with 3% of the water compared to traditional soils techniques. I literally have farms growing on trailers from captured rainwater and solar. So we can take this around any of the ag schools, and we can prove to people that there's a lot of sustainable practices that are being ignored. And it should be, especially like when you read the Restoration Act, which is an act we've proposed. It's in the chat a little further up. And we identify the problems we see in society as homelessness, organically grown food, bioremediation of our aquifers to get all these heavy metals out. And we use that in collaboration with Section 9 in the Restoration Act, which is research and science. So we need to come together at that. I'm so happy to be part of this group. And, fit me in where you need me, Coach. If there's anything I can do with James Brady and Moringa and those people that I've been working with for years, I'd like to introduce you to come to our farm, and let's see how we can collaborate on any of this. Thank you.
Most definitely, if you can drop that address in the chat, I can swing by today.
You betcha.
Christian, that's my main man in San Diego, so you got to go check his place out.
Hey, say less.
Okay.
I'll just add to Daryl. I mean, we could have a conversation at another time, but just to kind of get an update on the current situation with water supply for farmers in California right now and what that looks like. And also if you've already written some stuff that has some background material on that moving forward. So when we are kind of talking about either smart crops or food justice, that's one of kind of the climate constraints that would be good to be able to speak of, to say this crop takes this much water or these methods are using this. I mean, the percentages, that's amazing. So it'd also be good to be able to say that from crop to crop in terms of what we're growing.
Thank you. That's a great point. I did put up just a few posts back. I call it, it's our solutions. We all sorry, we collect dogs. We all know this problem's now. What are the solutions? So in that single page flyer at the very bottom is, can you get the dogs and keep them out? There's a single page link, or a flyer that is to a single page link at the bottom where it says learn more. Those are all my hyperlinks in that executive summary. And one of the first things is we have to have water. So I've gone into desert communities and we're growing lush crops. We're actually introducing back water rights that were taken from Native Americans because we simply borrow that water. We keep it below the rock line so we don't have evaporative losses. We have bioremediation in front of that. So we're cleaning up the water and we're returning it just like in better shape than we got it. So to your point, if you go to the executive summary, you'll see links to the national and California drought conditions. And it's horrible what's happening, the way this is being legislated and regulated. And that's in California. This is all the Southwestern United States. So anything we propose has to take water into consideration first and foremost. Thank you for that question.
I guess we can add water justice to the title as well.
Yeah, I like that. Got it.
Excuse me, what town did you, excuse me, what town did you say you're in, Daryl? I missed that.
Thank you. Could you pronounce your first name again?
Jadi Kabui. Jadi. Most people call me Kabui. Kabui is easier. Kabui is fine.
Thank you. So I feel like there's one thing that should unite us all, and that's we eat. So our logo here, to be a 151 farmer, if you eat, you're in. I ask people to leave their bias at the gate and come in and understand that I don't care what gang you're with, what divisional law you're with, what your political ideology is. If you eat, you're in. So a lot of people come from all over the world to come to San Diego and see what we've done here. And, you know, my background's electrical engineering, but when I came at this from the standpoint of growing inside cannabis, I wanted to reduce our watts per square foot. And some of the largest aquaculture groups in the world, Pentair being one, introduced me to the aquaculture or aquaponic systems of growing. And I was always told you couldn't produce flowering plants with this. Well, I just hate to take that as gospel. And I started developing dual root zones. So with the help of James and the Moringa, we've seen plants that aren't happy in a constant flow of water. Although it's oxygenated, the plant can still be overcome. But by doing a dual root zone, I have not seen a plant I can't grow in that yet. So please come to San Diego and have a look at it. And you'll see, in addition to what I have on our website, what we can do in terms of water justice and food quality for these regions that have historically been oppressed.
Hey, Carrie, just a quick comment on the water. It's been my experience, I think that we have too many water districts in the state of California. That is what regulates and distributes water to all of us across the state, but I think it's too many, and politically, we got too many farmers that are out of business now just because of the regulatory process that they have to go through. So I would just add water districts. The elimination of some of those, I think, would be very helpful.
And probably mixed interest across those from urban to rural.
Yes.
You know, the biggest thing we found a problem with in doing these environmental impact reports, and CEQA, it's the California Environmental Quality Act. So these are all self-stated water demands for the agricultural community. Very rarely is this water actually metered so that at the state level, they can see on a crop by crop basis who's consuming what. So we have ultrasonic flow meters that uplink, and there's really absolutely no reason that these cannot be determined on a per meter basis what the consumption is for that particular crop. And what James is saying is true. We're asking farmers to reduce their crop sizes by 50%. They're going to be broke. They're not going to have the money to make it. And it's really been a result of water mismanagement that's gotten us here.
Okay, great. So first I'd like to ask you both, maybe we can start with Nina and then Christian. What initiatives are you currently pushing forward?
The initiative that we're pushing forward right now is Children Overcoming Sickle Cell. So that is, you know, today being the first day of Sickle Cell Awareness Day, is working towards correcting a narrative that's associated with sickle cell. So sickle cell in its origin started off as an adaptation for malaria in North and West Africa. And it wasn't until we had this situation with the transatlantic slave trade, where people were kidnapped from North and West Africa and brought to the Americas, where that genetic variation wasn't as needed because malaria wasn't a dominant force in the Western world. So what happens is that, you know, you have these forced breeding, you know, situations that take place where the concept of, you know, transferring genetic material from one place to one place, and also not being able to have the staple foods available that actually help those blood cells go from a sickle shape to a whole shape to defend the body from malaria. We have, you know, what we know now as the first molecular disease that was found in the Western world, which is sickle cell. So the understanding of how sickle cell develops or how it's maintained is very small. There's not a lot of resources, nor is there a lot of study being taken, you know, for people who are wanting to become a doctor. So it's similar to, you know, Black History Month in the Western world being the shortest month of the year. You know, that's kind of like, you know, with sickle cell being something that predominantly affects the Black community, there's not much resources or time and energy that's going towards, you know, trying to find, you know, ways to heal it that don't generate revenue. So it has to generate revenue for the Western man and institutions. So one of the things that they have been, you know, campaigning for is basically gene therapy, in which, you know, the bone marrow transplants or, You know, they even have some type of campaign that they're using right now where they'll take, you know, it's a gene therapy method that they use the HIV virus, and they take the actual virus out and they're putting it into members of the sickle cell community in hopes that they can reverse the blood cells from sickling. And it's very crazy things, you know, that when I hear it, it just kind of mirrors the syphilis, Tuskegee experiments and things of that nature. So our goal is to just be able to produce culturally specific foods that we know can have an anti-sickling impact on the blood. And we've been looking at moringa as one of the ways that we can do that. So our initiative right now is to be able to provide members of the sickle cell community moringa health packages at zero cost. So whenever they say that they need it, we can provide it for them. If somebody contacts us and says that they know somebody who has sickle cell and they're in a, you know, experiencing some crises and they need to help shift their nutrition plans, we'll make that available as well. So on a continuous basis, we want to be able to provide members of the sickle cell community these health packages, because we know that this is something that can support their health. And we want to be able to support our most vulnerable members without any government intervention. We want to be able to do it as a family. We want to be able to do it as people working together, you know, in an African socialistic way. So this is one of our primary initiatives right now. Is just to shift the narrative that's associated with sickle cell from being something that promotes genetic inferiority to the accurate, you know, perception of it, which is a cure from, you know, is a cure for malaria. So when we have millions of people that are actually dying from malaria, we actually have, you know, groups of people who are in positions to have some type of adaptation to that environment. And so we need to be able to bring more awareness to the triumphs of our community, more so than just the tragedy. So building on a correct narrative, that's our initiative right now. And then also being able to offer these culturally specific foods, i.e. moringa.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I did put Christian's website in the chat. And if I can just ask real quick, how many people are on like your Lyft server or in this community that you're reaching out to in the California area?
Right now, we have 36 people that we're offering moringa health packages to within the sickle cell community.
Great, thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Queen Nina Womack from Los Angeles, California. I'm the chairwoman of the California Women in Agriculture Association. We're a chapter of a national organization called the National Women in Agriculture Association. And the California Women in Ag is also doing business as the Let's Be Whole Food Pantry. I started Let's Be Whole, which is a holistic wellness and food security program for the disenfranchised, vulnerable populations here in Los Angeles. I started it in 2015, and I work with holistic practitioners where we teach these communities about natural alternative health and wellness, such as mindfulness, meditation, yoga, healing with herbs, healing with crystal therapy, aromatherapy, arts therapy, and sound healing. And when you look at the mind, body, soul approach, it's important for Let's Be Whole, the work that we're doing, to cover those three aspects of the human's self. So nutrition security is a very important component of that, because when people have access to the proper nutrients, they can think clearer. Of course, they can reduce their health disparities and obesity and so forth. So like I said, I started Let's Be Whole in 2015, doing this holistic wellness work. Then I launched the food component of it in 2018. So we run a food pantry weekly for every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the impoverished communities of Los Angeles. I would say our demographics is approximately 44% African American, maybe 43% Hispanic, and then a few percent white and Asian and others. So we're definitely working with the disenfranchised. outside, this is food that with the food recovery work that my organization is doing. This is food that we've recovered from high-end grocery stores like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. We recover food from various farmers markets and from farm organizations such as Food Forward, and we distribute it to the people. The initiatives that we are currently pushing is I just qualified for a grant fellowship because of the humanitarian work that I'm doing in the community. So I applied for this fellowship. That what the request was to expand the food security program into nutrition education. Me as the founder of Let's Be Whole and the chairwoman of the California Women in Ag Association, I've been doing one-on-one nutrition class, well, not one-on-one, but I've been teaching nutrition classes to various clients at different nonprofits. And now I want to bring in other nutritionists, nutrition scientists, and so forth. So I put in a request for funding to be able to offer stipends to these experts. And so that is one thing, is to expand the nutrition education component of our food pantry. I also recently started a NGO in Nigeria, specifically an agricultural education NGO, to expand our National Women in Agriculture Association over to Africa. So we're starting in Lagos. We just formed the nonprofit, so we haven't started any work yet. But with that, we plan on educating women and youth in Nigeria and then moving to other African countries about agriculture, how to grow, aquaculture, things of that nature. And then I also, another new initiative is I just partnered with a longtime friend of mine on a for-profit agricultural or food company called the One World Food Hub. And with that, we will be creating import-export of agricultural products and working with producers to produce organic, healthy products, food products around the world. Yeah.
Wow, you're doing a lot in terms of experience also, I think, for other people. So if I'm hearing you right, you have a California NGO, international NGO, and then also for-profit work, and then also some grant experience as well.
Yes.
So it's a lot of amazing work. I mean, I think within the community, but then also I think within this network of what some of us are trying to do. And I think that's often an interesting discussion too, this balance between having a for-profit and a nonprofit as an entrepreneur and wanting to pursue that, but then oftentimes having kind of nonprofit or these more social goals. And so that might be something I think to maybe, if you can elaborate on now a little bit about navigating some of that for everyone else, would be interesting, I think.
Well, I think that one of the key models is we need to get out of the mind frame of that a nonprofit equates to making no money and we're just doing charity humanitarian work. If there is a hybrid, especially now, for nonprofits to be sustainable, you have to come up with ways that you can monetize what you're doing. So if it's starting a for-profit like I did with One World Food Hub and being able to create value-added products or whatever other products and things, commodities that you could create that could go filter the humanitarian work that you're doing. So we just need to think outside of the box on how to generate funds. That's that's what I'm going through now. When you ask about the challenges that an organization like mine would face and how to overcome these, we definitely have experienced a lack of funding support. And so now, like I said, my brain is churning on creating ways to raise funds. So I've been able to utilize free tools, software tools that are out here for nonprofits, like Microsoft. Microsoft offers a series of free tools for nonprofits that create, that have automation and different things like that, a fundraising component to remind your donors and so forth to donate. So I just was approved with those licensing. And so now I am giving out the licenses to my team so we can set up a system to raise funds, as well as my background is in the media, in entertainment, 30 plus years in entertainment. So I am using the power of the media to educate people about nutrition and food sovereignty and so forth. So in exactly 2 weeks, I will launch a Let's Be Whole television program on Roku, and Roku has over 50 million users, viewers a month. And so we will be teaching the community, anybody who's watching, about proper nutrients and nutrition, cooking classes, healthy cooking classes, and their right to grow healthy organic foods. So the power of the media is another tool that that I'm using, and I plan to use to get the word out about these topics, about food justice and health equity.
Thank you. Yeah, I think many of us are realizing, whether we want to or not, have to engage with media, you know, to draw in, whether it be donors or grants or funding or these types of things. And I think within the academic world, this has been a challenge, I would say, in the past, and definitely more in the entrepreneurial and marketing space. So it's always good to kind of combine, I think, some of those efforts as well. And I think with my own project, kind of spreading awareness and stuff, in learning how and when to engage with social media and different platforms is something that we can all benefit from too. So good luck with the show, and please keep us posted so that we can watch it.
Well, I've got to have you on the show, Carrie.
You should probably have some other people who are on here as well.
Okay, great.
That's what we're here for, right? To use each other as guests in different spaces as well. So yeah, and Christian, do you want to talk about some of the challenges as well that you're facing, or anything that's from some of Queen Nina's comments that have maybe sparked some thoughts on your end and your organization's work?
Well, some of the challenges that we face is just getting information institutionalized. So with the media company or that's always this idea, especially when we consider how influential the media has been in just creating culture or facilitating culture in our communities, or whether they were, you know, building on stereotypes or working towards eradicating them. I think that's a good thing to use. But yeah, one of the challenges that we're facing, I mean, we have you know, an abundant, you know, amount of resources as far as being able to, you know, get these packages to members of the sickle cell community. You know, some of the challenges that we face is not just necessarily institutionalizing the ideas, but then also being able to gather enough information that we can have an extensive just database of people within the sickle cell community, so that we could provide them with this just here in North America. So I know there's about, you know, a little over 100,000 people who have been diagnosed with sickle cell anemia here in North America, and it's something that could be, you know, resolved with just nutrition. So when we think about you know, sickle cell just being just this genetic variation, and anemia being a nutritional deficiency, if we can kind of understand it that way, then it puts us in a position where we can, you know, we can institutionalize new ideas about how to approach it. So the media would be a good way of going about it, helping us institutionalize it. And if we can start working towards institutionalizing this new narrative and these new ideas about how to approach it, that'll be one less challenge that we have to deal with.
Great, thank you. And just kind of also just to talk a little bit more about creation of society and what you guys are doing. It is it's promoting awareness and health within the sickle cell community, but then you also do have some revenue streams, right, with your t-shirts and training and selling Moringa products as well, which is helpful. And you do make great t-shirts. Maybe we can get some food justice shirts made. I know you have some that say think Moringa as well. And t-shirts are actually a pretty interesting way to generate awareness and revenue at the same time, you know, and that relates to almost any business, right? From an academic to a product. So I find it still a very useful tool, I think.
Yeah, we do the t-shirts. We have a concept that we're building out this month for Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and the whole concept is it was the 1971 3-day survival conference that the Black Panther Party had put together in Oakland when they were going out and giving these free sickle cell screening opportunities for the community. And they have, and you'll see it when we print it out and everything, it'd be real nice. But there's this one image of, you know, this brother and his sisters out there engaging in the community. And there's just thousands of people out there, you know, just talking about just developing these Black survival plans. And so this is a plan that a lot of communities have picked up since the original Black Panther Party was, dismantled by COINTELPRO and J. Edgar Hoover. But, you know, you can kill a revolutionary, but the idea of revolution is, you know, you can't kill that, you know what I'm saying? As long as there's oppression anywhere. So we got an idea for a t-shirt that we're developing now. I think it's going to be real dynamite. And it's going to be focusing more so about, you know, this survival program, and then also the sickle cell awareness, because essentially that's what we're talking about. You know, when we talk about food sovereignty or food justice, you know, essentially those are survival programs. And then when we talk about how we can use Moringa, you know, to be implemented as a part of that survival program, you know, then we're on the cusp of, you know, reinventing or just resurrecting, the liberation programs that the Black Panther Party had, you know, originally implemented. So yeah, t-shirts are a big part of it. Products are a big part of it. Yeah, I'll co-sign that. You know,
it's important. I mean, and everyone wears t-shirts, and then they ask questions about it too. You know, so it is good. You know, we do for the food justice website, we want to have some kind of background information as well, and I've definitely read some parts of the Black Food Matters by Hannah Garth, and she's a part of this group as well. I think just a bit busy right now, but I think having some history of the Black Panther movement would be good in that basis, especially since this is California and the Bay Area, and so much of their emphasis was focusing on food, right, and getting food to people as that basis of how do you move forward past that. So
they had the free breakfast program.
Exactly.
So that whole free breakfast program was basically, you know, if children aren't, you know, children have to be excited by school, by preparing for school, and breakfast is one of the main ways that children prepare for school, is being able to have a good breakfast, a hot meal prior to going into those classrooms. And, you know, after they were dismantled by COINTELPRO and the FBI, and they were looked at as, you know, the #1 threat to national security, you know, they was feeding the community, they was doing the sickle cell programs, they was creating their own schools, and they was defending their community. And J. Edgar Hoover, he said we have to stop the rise of a Black Messiah. And so that was anybody who could be in a leadership position that could ignite some type of social consciousness within the community. And so when we look at some of the things that they were doing as far as feeding the youth, yeah, that's food sovereignty. So they already had the blueprint laid out, you know what I'm saying, for everybody to do. But I think being able to have some type of alternative leadership within North America or United States of America, that was the threat, right? Being able to have these descendants of slaves, being able to provide for themselves, do things for themselves. Yeah, they was terrified of that, you know. So, you know, the blueprint was already laid out. We just have to, you know, more so just follow suit and just kind of reignite some of these ideas that were already given to us. Yeah, now, you know, we just got to do the work.
Exactly. So let's talk about that, maybe looking at some of her book and some of the history and trying to put maybe a nice paragraph together for the website in terms of highlighting the history of the Black Panther work.
For sure.
And we were just planning this to be, I think, an hour, so I don't want to take too much longer, but Nina and Christian, the last two questions are kind of about engaging the next generation in these fields of global health and food justice and equity. If you guys want to highlight that, I think both of you have a little bit, particularly Christian's organization as well. And then what type of projects do you envision this Center of Expertise on Food Justice assisting with or collaborating in terms of health outcomes? You know, Christian, you certainly have a very specific health outcome, right? So I could envision a very easy grant proposal going in on doing an intervention in a community with Moringa, for example, and looking at health outcomes related to sickle cell. So I think, like, not that all of us need to move forward with that, but we should be thinking about projects like that, right? That are a food justice intervention with a health outcome. So I don't know, Nina, if you want to either address kind of either of those or both of those, or any other final comments.
Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Nina.
Oh, okay. So basically what I'm doing to empower the youth, I'm working with youth in the US and in Africa and encouraging them to be health and food security promoters. So I have youth that are volunteers here with my food pantry program locally in Los Angeles. By exposing them, I teach them about the importance of serving our community, about recovering this food to reduce food waste going into the landfill. So, so they're learning a lot by this hands-on lived experience, as well as I'm working with different organizations, nonprofits in Africa that are spearheaded by youth that are concerned about issues, social issues in Africa, such as gender-based violence and health and mental health awareness and so forth. So again, I encourage them remotely to go out there and create events and workshops and education to empower other youth, African youth, about health equity and so forth. Right now, I'm in the process of planning a partnership with a gentleman who's created an aquaculture model for use in schools. It's a small model, and so him and I are talking about partnering and working together so I can further take his aquaculture kits and utilize them to children. So that's something that I'm utilizing to reinforce STEM-based curriculums within the food justice arena. And I'm planning, I wrote a STEAM curriculum before that I'm using, but I'm also now developing a STEAM curriculum. So throwing the arts in there that can be applied to the agricultural education that my nonprofits are embarking on and teaching the community. And in addition, I work with several partners that have written children's books around education and growing food and so forth. So we're working on a program that we can teach children about the importance of food sovereignty. And then with the type of research projects that I envision with your organization, with the measurable health outcomes, is again, like I said, I applied for that fellowship to expand the pantry program into adding a strong nutrition curriculum. So in my fellowship, when I wrote the proposal, I included that they asked about how am I going to measure it. And so I said that we would measure the outcome of the nutrition education program with pre and post assessments, quizzes and surveys, tests and things of that nature. So that is, what I intend to do. And so I would like to work with the organization to help me get those kind of measures going on, so we can see if we did improve the knowledge and the health of our participants in this nutrition education component of our food pantry program.
That sounds great. I will say Susanna's done a lot of work in this field and has sent me even a very clear before and after guide that I'm going to be using for my Moringa project as well. And so if you two want to touch base, she's really great with kind of these, assessment stuff. And then I also just wanted to highlight, down the road, if you're interested, the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health is with NIH, and they have a lot of grant funding related to the different types of work that you're doing. It's been around for a while, and they really started out trying to do more health investigations on things like acupuncture and traditional herbs and these types of things. But they have a lot of funding, and it might be a good resource to look into some of the work that you're doing, and we could think about down the line.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Christian, do you want to make any final comments about engagement with the youth? Maybe talk about some of the work you've done in Oakland with some of the youth organizations that we've even worked on a little bit together, and then also some of the goals of this overall food justice group.
I think this food justice group, how I would like to see this develop into a think tank where we can have ideas come through, and then we can work on strategies and implementations of it. I definitely could see this being something that could have some long-term benefits for California and internationally, just by us having conversations together and having an atmosphere where we can bring ideas forth and kind of disseminate them, right? And apply them through strategies. A lot of the work that we've been doing, my dad, he worked in juvenile hall for 33 years in Oakland. So, our engagement to like young people in the community, I'm like, I do it, but I'm standing on the shoulders of a lot of great men who did it before me. So, it could seem like I'm doing a whole lot, but I'm just, it's just a legacy thing at this point. My brother, he was working in the community as well with a lot of young people. And so we really started working with the youth while we were youth, you know what I'm saying? So it's been more so effortless to engage in the community of Oakland because, born and raised is just a native, giving back is just it's just a natural part of the procedure, just, elevate each one, teach one, right? So some of the things that we've done as far as just like the Moringa engagement is just teaching children how to germinate seeds and, walking them through that process. And then we did screen printing and entrepreneurship, programs for the young people, teaching them about screen printing and, what that process is like as far as turning your art into entrepreneurship, endeavors and things like that. We don't want any more starving artists. If you're an artist, you can do something good, and you got a good design. We want you to be able to find ways or know the path of being able to generate revenue through your art, no matter how young you are. So, I really, put a lot of that energy into my son, and my son has actually been able to go out and, in those kind of art screen printing environments, he's been able to teach other children how to do screen printing. And so that was one of the ways that we wanted to do it, just to have, these kind of peer-to-peer, educational groups where the young people can teach young people about entrepreneurship, and, we can kind of just be there as guides. So those are some ways that we engage the young people as far as just being in Oakland and being able to do something that we don't have a lot of strings attached to us. We have the equipment and we have the know-how, so we can go into the classrooms, whether it be, elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools, and teach the young people about entrepreneurship and art, the relationship between the two, and also be able to educate them on sickle cell. We've done this at the university level as well. We have speaking engagements at, Sacramento State, UC Davis, Solano Community College, so on and so on. So, this ain't nothing that have, just started yesterday. Like I said, I stand on the shoulders of all the great people who came before me, who've been doing the work. There's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of the things that I talk about is not nothing that's new. It's just things that I was taught, you know, and I was trained in as far as moving forward with. Like I said, my grandmother, she had sickle cell. So, you know, it's not like it just kind of, you know, was part of my research or academic research or anything like that. These are oral histories that was passed down, you know, from my grandmother to my mother to myself. So my father, he had sickle cell as well. My son was diagnosed with sickle cell. Me and my wife, we have sickle cell as well. So the reason why we're involved in what we're involved in is because, you know, we turn the business, we turning what was presented to us as a problem and finding a solution. That was the business, you know, being a solution orientated person and finding these solutions. So we want to be able to expand the information to the young people too, is that for every problem there's a solution. And so you know, entrepreneurship is a big thing in our community, because our young people, they're so driven, you know what I'm saying, to generate revenue for themselves. They just don't necessarily always have the right tools or the right resources or the right product, you know, because of, you know, institutionalized racism or different social constraints that prevent them from being able to flourish or have the resources to really do something that's not going to have, you know, the police kicking in their door and everything like that. So we want to be able to offer them the right resources that they can develop with and build upon and just plant those seeds, you know, and come back and cultivate them as we can. But everything that we do, we want to be able to go out and get resources so that we can bring back home. So yeah, we've been doing work in the community. We're going to continue to do work in the community. You know, even as I'm in San Diego, we still have brothers out in the community that's still doing the work, that's still connected to our family. And, you know, like I say, it's not just me. It's a, you know, it's a family push.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, it's beautiful to hear, and that you're, you know, kind of passing on this knowledge and efforts. And I think that the of family and of tradition, and that as we're just talking about the Black Panther work in the 1960s and this kind of continuing on in what is a very different world and different space, but still a lot of the same struggles for people to both survive, get access to food, and then also have access to make and generate funds. And I think amongst the youth, farming has, and growing food has not necessarily been a very appealing line of work. And so I think some of the work that you're doing makes it, for lack of a better word, look cool or appealing to people to say, hey, we're addressing a problem, we're generating money, we're connecting with the community. I mean, those are all really great things. So I think it's great to highlight both Queen Nina and Christian's work that they're doing. And I thank you all for joining. And let's continue to have these conversations. If Cheryl, if you have anything else you want to add, or anyone else, I just want to say thank you. It's inspiring to hear what everybody's doing, and I look forward to more discussions.